First contact. The vast emptiness of deep space had always been Dr. Elena Rodriguez's true home. As lead scientist of the Horizon 7 Deep Space Exploration mission, she understood the delicate dance of isolation and wonder that defined humanity's most ambitious journey beyond Earth's boundaries. The research vessel Pathfinder cut through the inky blackness, its experimental quantum drive humming with a quiet intensity that spoke of human engineering at its most innovative. Captain Marcus Reeves stood beside Elena, his weathered hands gripping the navigation console. 12 years of space exploration had etched lines of experience into his face, a map of humanity's relentless curiosity. Quantum signature approaching, he announced, his voice calm but alert. Something's different about this reading. Elena's fingers danced across her holographic interface, recalibrating sensors that had been designed to detect the most subtle variations in spacetime. It's not like anything in our database, she muttered, more to herself than to the bridge crew. The ship's artificial intelligence, Aria, began running rapid comparative analyses, its quantum processors working at speeds that would have been impossible just a decade earlier. Unbeknownst to the Pathfinder's crew, they were about to become the first human contact for the Zorn Empire, a civilization that had conquered over 217 star systems through a combination of technological superiority and ruthless military precision. The Zorn had a singular approach to expansion: identify, assess, subjugate. Civilizations were categorized into 3 simple classifications: assimilable, exploitable, or eradication-worthy. The first transmission came unexpectedly. A massive vessel materialized on their long-range scanners, its design defying every known principle of space travel. Triangular, with crystalline structural components that seemed to phase in and out of observable reality, the ship dwarfed the Pathfinder like a whale beside a minnow. Unidentified vessel, you have entered Zorn territorial space, a voice emerged, neither male nor female, neither mechanical or organic. It resonated directly within the minds of the bridge crew, bypassing traditional communication channels. State your origin and purpose. Captain Reeves exchanged a glance with Elena. First contact protocols had been drilled into them during years of training, but nothing could truly prepare humans for this moment. "This is Captain Marcus Reeves of the human research vessel Pathfinder," he responded carefully. "We are on a peaceful scientific exploration mission." The response was instantaneous and chilling. Peaceful exploration is an inefficient methodology. All resources must serve expansion. Your vessel's technological signatures indicate potential value. Dr. Rodriguez's scientific mind raced. The translation matrix Aria was constructing revealed layers of complexity in the alien communication, a linguistic structure that suggested a civilization that viewed existence as a series of calculated transactions rather than an experience to be understood. Tactical Officer Kai Wong, a former military strategist who had transitioned to deep space exploration, tensed. His hands hovered near the defensive systems, though everyone knew the Pathfinder's capabilities were laughably inadequate against a vessel of this magnitude. "We seek knowledge, not conflict," Captain Reeves continued, maintaining a diplomatic tone. "Our mission is to learn, to understand, to explore." A pause, brief but pregnant with calculation, followed. "Then, exploration without purpose is entropy. Your vessel will be evaluated. Resistance is mathematically inefficient." The Zorn vessel began to emit a strange quantum resonance. Instruments across the Pathfinder's bridge started to fluctuate wildly. Aria's calm voice cut through the growing tension: "Quantum entanglement detected. Unknown scanning protocols initiating. Recommend immediate defensive measures." Elena realized they were witnessing something unprecedented. The Zorn weren't just scanning the ship, they were attempting to deconstruct its fundamental quantum signature, probing not just its physical structure but its very potential for utility. "They're trying to understand us," she whispered. "Not just our technology, our entire potential as a species." Captain Reeves understood the implications. This wasn't just a potential first contact, it was an assessment. Humanity was about to be categorized, its entire potential reduced to a binary calculation of usefulness. Little did the Zorn know, humanity had never been good at fitting into simple categories. And the crew of the Pathfinder was about to prove that in ways the conquest-driven civilization could never anticipate. As quantum energies crackled and strange geometric patterns of light began to envelope the Pathfinder, one thing became clear: this was no ordinary first contact. This was the beginning of a story that would reshape the understanding of existence itself. The universe was about to learn that humanity's greatest strength was its infinite capacity to defy expectations. Resistance takes root. 48 hours after the Pathfinder's encounter, the global response was unlike anything the Zorn could have predicted. The quantum transmission captured by the ship had been broadcast globally, transforming what could have been a silent, isolated incident into humanity's collective rallying cry. In a nondescript research facility beneath the Andes Mountains, Dr. Hiroshi Nakamura reviewed the transmission for the 100th time. As the director of the Earth Defense Initiative, EDI, he had spent decades preparing for scenarios most considered science fiction. The quantum data from the Pathfinder wasn't just a communication, it was a complex mathematical language that seemed to encode the Zorn's entire philosophical approach to existence. "They see us as a resource," Hiroshi muttered to his team. "Not as a civilization, but as a potential asset to be categorized and consumed." Zara Okoye, a brilliant quantum engineer, manipulated holographic projections of the alien transmission. Her fingers danced across the interface, revealing intricate patterns that defied traditional understanding. "Look here," she pointed. "Their scanning protocol isn't just technological. It's attempting to map our entire species' potential for adaptation and utility." The global response was immediate and unprecedented. Universities worldwide suspended normal operations. Research facilities from Tokyo to Sao Paulo, from Cape Town to Moscow, began collaborative efforts that transcended traditional boundaries. The Zorn's attempt to categorize humanity had done something remarkable: it had unified the species in a way no previous challenge ever had. In the United Nations emergency session, representatives from every nation listened intently as Dr. Nakamura presented his findings. "The Zorn don't understand us," he explained. "Their entire civilization is built on a model of absolute efficiency. They see resources, not potential. They calculate, but they don't create." Commander Elena Rodriguez, not the same Elena from the Pathfinder, but a global security strategist, leaned forward. "So how do we turn that into an advantage?" The answer came from an unexpected source. Kai Thompson, a former game theory professor turned global security consultant, had been quietly analyzing the transmission. "We don't fight them on their terms," he said. "We introduce chaos. Unpredictability. The very thing their system can't calculate." A plan began to take shape. While traditional military strategists would have considered a defensive stance, the global response team proposed something radically different. Instead of preparing for war, they would prepare for radical, unpredictable adaptation. Research teams began working on projects that would have seemed absurd mere weeks ago. Quantum communication protocols designed to be inherently unstable. Technological systems built with intentional inefficiencies. Adaptive algorithms that could change their fundamental operating principles mid-process. The Zorn had made a critical miscalculation. By attempting to scan and categorize humanity, they had awakened a sleeping giant, not of military might, but of collaborative innovation. Deep in the Zorn command vessel that still maintained its quantum link with the Pathfinder, senior analysis units began to experience something unprecedented. The human data stream wasn't conforming to their predictive models. It was changing. Evolving. Resisting categorization at a fundamental level. "Anomaly detected," a Zorn processing unit reported. "Human potential calculation matrix experiencing critical instability." The response from the High Command was swift but betrayed a hint of something almost like concern. Initiate comprehensive recalculation protocol. But humans had already moved beyond calculation. In research facilities, in university labs, in makeshift collaboration spaces that sprang up overnight, humanity was doing what it did best, reimagining the possible. The Zorn had come expecting a resource to be harvested. Instead, they had triggered a global immune response of creativity and defiance. The quantum transmission from the Pathfinder had been more than a first contact. It was humanity's invitation to show the universe exactly what it meant to be human. And the response was going to be spectacular. Technological breakthrough. The world had transformed in ways no one could have predicted. What began as a potential threat had become humanity's most extraordinary moment of collective innovation. The Zorn's initial scan had inadvertently created a global think tank that operated with a fluidity the alien civilization could never comprehend. Dr. Zara Okoye's quantum research facility in Lagos had become ground zero for humanity's most audacious technological leap. Surrounded by a diverse team of researchers from every continent, she stood before a holographic display that seemed to defy the laws of physics. Traditional computing is linear, she explained to her team. The Zorn's technology operates on quantum principles that assume absolute predictability. But what if we create something fundamentally unpredictable? The breakthrough came from an unexpected collaboration. A group of neuroscientists, quantum physicists, and artificial intelligence experts had been working on a radical concept, a computational system inspired by human creativity, complete with intentional randomness and emotional intelligence. Dr. Hiroshi Nakamura called it the Adaptive Response Network or ARN. Unlike traditional AI, this system was designed to learn, forget, and most importantly, make seemingly illogical leaps of imagination. It was less a computer and more a digital organism that could evolve in real time. Meanwhile, in orbital research stations, engineers were developing technologies that would have seemed like science fiction mere months ago. Adaptive camouflage that could change not just visual appearance, but quantum signature. Communication systems that could communicate through quantum entanglement in ways that defied traditional interception. The Zorn's continuous attempts to scan and categorize human technological development were meeting with increasing frustration. Each time they thought they had mapped human potential, the calculations would shift, sometimes dramatically, sometimes subtly. In a secured communication center, Commander Elena Rodriguez reviewed the latest intelligence. "They're trying to understand us," she told Kai Thompson, "but they're approaching us like a mathematical problem to be solved." Thompson smiled, a glint of determination in his eyes. "And that's exactly why they'll fail. Humanity isn't a problem to be solved. We're a story still being written." The psychological warfare was equally sophisticated. Global communication networks began broadcasting seemingly random data streams, complex mathematical sequences that contained hidden layers of meaning. To human researchers, these were intricate puzzles. To the Zorn, they were incomprehensible noise that disrupted their scanning protocols. Dr. Nakamura's team had discovered something profound about the Zorn's communication methodology. Their entire civilization operated on a principle of absolute information transfer, no room for misinterpretation, no space for metaphor or emotional nuance. Humanity's response was to introduce deliberate ambiguity. "They expect efficiency," Zara explained during a global conference. "We'll give them complexity. Our strength isn't in our technology, it's in our ability to think beyond technology." Prototype weapons were developed that were more concept than hardware. Energy dispersal systems that could change their fundamental operating principles mid-engagement. Communication devices that could communicate through emotional resonance rather than traditional signal transmission. The Zorn's initial assessment of humanity as a potential resource was rapidly transforming. What they had seen as a simple civilization to be catalogued was revealing itself as something far more dangerous, a species that could fundamentally change the rules of engagement. In the vast quantum networks that connected their civilization, Zorn analysis units began to experience something unprecedented: uncertainty. The human data streams were no longer predictable. They were alive, changing, evolving with a speed and complexity that defied their computational models. Warning: one Zorn processing unit transmitted. Human potential calculation experiencing critical deviation. Standard categorization protocols insufficient. Humanity wasn't just resisting categorization. They were rewriting the very concept of what could be categorized. The technological arms race had begun. But this was no traditional conflict. This was a battle of imagination, of potential, of the fundamental right to define oneself beyond external classification. And humanity was just getting started. The turning point. The moment of reckoning arrived with a silence more deafening than any battle cry. The Zorn had grown increasingly frustrated by humanity's inexplicable resistance, and now they prepared for what they believed would be their definitive strike. Deep in the Atacama Desert, the Earth Defense Initiative's primary command center hummed with an electric tension. Commander Elena Rodriguez stood before a holographic display that mapped the impending Zorn assault. Around her, a team of specialists from every corner of the globe worked with a precision born of desperation and hope. "They're coming with everything," Kai Thompson muttered, analyzing the incoming quantum signatures. "But they still don't understand us." The Zorn assault was a masterpiece of calculated destruction. Massive quantum drive vessels descended through Earth's atmosphere, their technology so advanced it seemed to warp the very fabric of reality. Traditional military defenses would have crumbled instantly. But humanity was anything but traditional. Dr. Zara Okoye's Adaptive Response Network, ARN, came to life. It wasn't a weapon in any conventional sense. Instead, it was a living, breathing computational organism that could predict, adapt, and counteract with a fluidity that defied logical comprehension. As the first Zorn vessels breached the upper atmosphere, something extraordinary happened. The ARN didn't just defend, it anticipated. Quantum communication networks began to pulse with information that seemed to flow like living thought. Defense systems morphed and shifted, creating patterns of resistance that had no consistent logic. "They're trying to categorize our response," Dr. Hiroshi Nakamura observed from the command center. "But we've made our defense fundamentally uncategorizable." The Zorn's initial assault was met with a response that defied their most advanced predictive models. Communication systems began to broadcast complex, ever-changing signal patterns. Some were pure mathematical equations. Others were fragments of human art, music, literature, concepts the Zorn had no framework to understand. Military engagement became something entirely new. Where the Zorn expected linear conflict, they encountered a defense that was more like an improvisational dance. Weapon systems appeared and disappeared. Defensive formations shifted with no discernible pattern. It was as if the entire planet had become a living, breathing entity of resistance. A Zorn command vessel attempted to launch a concentrated energy weapon, a technology that had decimated countless civilizations. But as the energy beam reached Earth's atmosphere, it began to fragment. Not through any traditional defensive mechanism, but through a quantum-level disruption that seemed to literally change the weapon's fundamental properties. "Impossible," transmitted the Zorn command unit. But impossibility had become humanity's specialty. In orbit, in the atmosphere, on the ground, the conflict raged. But it was unlike any war in human or alien history. The Zorn were fighting an enemy that refused to be defined, that could change its very nature moment by moment. Dr. Okoye's team had implemented something revolutionary. The ARN wasn't just a defense system, it was a collective consciousness that drew from every human's creativity, fear, hope, and determination. Each quantum pulse carried not just data, but emotion. Not just information, but potential. Commander Rodriguez watched as the holographic display showed something unprecedented. The Zorn vessels weren't just being repelled, they were being fundamentally confused. Their rigid computational models were encountering something they had no protocol to understand: pure, unbridled human potential. "We're not just fighting," Kai Thompson said quietly. "We're proving something about ourselves." As the battle reached its crescendo, the Zorn faced a terrifying realization. Humanity wasn't a resource to be catalogued. Humanity wasn't a civilization to be conquered. Humanity was a force of nature, unpredictable, uncontainable, and utterly unconquerable. The turning point had arrived. And the universe would never be the same. Humanity ascendant. The aftermath of the battle was unlike anything in recorded galactic history. Where the Zorn expected total subjugation, they found something entirely unexpected: a civilization that had not just survived, but fundamentally transformed itself. Dr. Zara Okoye stood on the observation deck of the newly constructed Global Defense Station, watching the remnants of Zorn technology being systematically studied and reimagined. The quantum signatures that had once threatened to categorize humanity now powered some of Earth's most innovative technologies. "They never understood the true nature of potential," she said to Commander Elena Rodriguez, who stood beside her. "The Zorn saw resources. We see possibilities." In the 6 months following the decisive conflict, humanity had undergone a metamorphosis. The global collaboration that began as a desperate response to alien threat had become something permanent. Borders had become meaningless. Scientific outposts dotted every continent, each one a testament to human adaptability. Dr. Hiroshi Nakamura's research teams had reverse-engineered Zorn quantum technologies, creating computational systems that blurred the line between artificial and organic intelligence. The Adaptive Response Network (ARN) had evolved from a defensive tool to something far more profound: a global neural network that connected human creativity on an unprecedented scale. Kai Thompson, now leading the Earth's first interstellar diplomatic corps, prepared for the most critical mission in human history. The Zorn weren't defeated, they were bewildered. No civilization in their recorded history had ever responded to potential conquest in such a way. "We're not going to war," Thompson explained during a global briefing. "We're going to communicate." And that's something the Zorn never expected. The first diplomatic envoy was a carefully selected team that represented the true diversity of human potential. Scientists, artists, philosophers, engineers, each bringing a unique perspective that defied traditional diplomatic protocols. Their mission wasn't to negotiate. It was to demonstrate. In the vast quantum communication networks that spanned the Zorn civilization, analysis units began to process the unprecedented data. Humanity had not just resisted. They had transformed the very concept of resistance. The Zorn High Command received a transmission that would reshape their understanding of existence. It wasn't a declaration of war. It wasn't a plea for peace. It was something far more complex, a multidimensional communication that was part mathematical equation, part artistic expression, part philosophical treatise. "We are not a resource to be catalogued," the transmission read in part. "We are a story still being written." Orbital observation posts captured something remarkable. The Zorn vessels that had come to conquer were now being systematically studied, their technologies adapted and reimagined. What was once a threat had become an opportunity for growth. Dr. Okoye's team discovered something profound in the Zorn's quantum communication protocols. Their entire civilization was built on a model of absolute predictability. Humanity had introduced something they had no framework to understand: genuine uncertainty. "It's not about being stronger," she explained to a global audience. "It's about being fundamentally unpredictable. About seeing potential where others see only limitation." The Global Defense Station became more than a military installation. It transformed into a beacon of human potential, a place where the technologies of potential conquest were being turned into tools of exploration and understanding. Commander Rodriguez looked out at the stars, understanding that the true victory wasn't in defeating the Zorn. It was in showing the universe the true nature of human potential. "We're not just surviving," she said quietly. "We're becoming something more." As the first human-modified quantum communication arrays began to reach beyond the solar system, something extraordinary happened. The message wasn't a threat. It wasn't a declaration. It was an invitation. An invitation to explore. To understand. To imagine. The universe would never be the same. And humanity was just beginning to understand its true potential.